welcome back to the Sleeping Grush podcast. I'm Matt.
I'm still John.
Still. And the long-haired freaky people at the end of the table is our producer, Jager.
It's not pejorative. We love his long hair.
We absolutely love his long hair. Jager, it's good to see you, buddy. It's good to be back after a long weekend at Mid Mitten. We'll talk about that in a second.
We will.
For now, we are brought to you today and every day by Cardboard Corner Cafe, Kansas City's premier game cafe, where the specials this month are Thanksgiving leftover waffle, the gingerbread waffle, the caramel apple cider, the butterbeer, and the Scotch amaretto cocktail known as the Vindicare.
Okay.
We're going to just...
This is just a sampler here. We're going to go get one of those?
Absolutely.
All right, I'm in.
Now,
I'm all in.
I'm going to ignore the fact that it's named after a 40K.
Yeah, I
don't
care.
Right, what's in
40K survivor, I can
I'm recovering 40K.
That's right.
Oh my gosh. Anyway, if you're ever in KC, you need to stop by Cardboard Corner Cafe. Fantastic place, tabletop game and hobby right next door. Get all your gaming needs, get all of your waffle needs all in one place.
Some of your alcohol needs.
Some. Oh my gosh. So,
Matt, welcome back from Mid Mitten Gaming Con.
It's good to be back.
It is good to be back.
We were just talking about the drive, and man, Michigan is so stinking pretty, especially this time of year. You know, the leaves are all changed, and it's just gorgeous. It's rugged, it's wildernessy, it's beautiful.
I didn't know when you got through. Michigan is just so stinking. I did not think that was going to end that way. I'm really appreciating the positive spin. I think the boys in the Mitten are going to be happy with it.
Well, I do love it. It's a really pretty place. I got to see a lot more of it in the light this time because the last time I went up, once I got past the border, it was pretty much dark, and then I took out early in the morning, so dark again, and I was just amazed at its beauty.
Awesome.
It's a really pretty place. But we did have Mid Mitten Gaming Con, which was fan-flipping-tastic. I can't say how much I love this event, just because, for no other reason. Our community gathers in really big. Everybody's
It's close enough to Canada.
It's close enough to Canada that we've got Canadians
Pull in a
that came
couple
down. Everybody gathers in. We just hang out. We play games. There were a lot of pickup games. There was we played encounters. We had the tournament. We had the Master Crafter coin. We tried Arena, which was, oh my gosh.
Now, tell me about that, because I've only been involved in the playtest. Did they have cards to?
They did.
They did.
I mean,
okay.
They were.
Yeah, they were prototypes,
cards,
right?
prototypes.
Fine. Yeah.
But everybody who played had a fantastic time.
Okay.
And everybody wanted to play more.
Yeah.
So that was the big thing, and it was a lot of fun to watch because they were doing their card thing.
Yeah, sure.
They were trumping each other, and it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, I remember the breakthrough there, because we've had Arena kind of floating around for a long time.
Yeah, and several different iterations.
Right. And I was this is one of those things that proves that the team is better than the individual,
Right.
in these creative endeavors. I had gotten us most of the way there and was at a block and just said, I need to move on to another project. So I'm beating my head against the wall here. Guys, this is what I'm looking for, to Colin and Jeff, right? This is what I'm looking for. It's what I think we want. It's what I think the players want, which is the most important thing. Take us to the next step, because I'm just going to solve it badly because I'm not seeing it, It's just it's the muse.
Sure.
Right?
Sure.
Don't keep writing a bad paragraph just because you feel you need to write it.
That's right. That's right.
So they took it, and that's where that thing came from. They took what I said. I can sort of see it cloudily, It needs to be more detailed in a Free Blades combat. You only got a couple one-on-ones out there, right? And you're not playing a full game of Free Blades, moving across an entire 4x4 mat. It's really about these individual combats, but you want to make these kind of decisions, and you got to both make that interesting and streamline it so you're not spending all day, with your decision-making process.
Right.
And they had the prototype isn't the cards; it's a Google sheet with drop-downs that are hidden until you make your choice.
Right.
So you could do it over. Jeff and Colin, I could do it over the internet, right?
Yeah.
So good to say they had some prototypes there. And so the positive response?
It was a very positive response. It was.
Yeah.
Everybody had a lot of fun. I know that even on Sunday morning, this thing started to disperse, and we had our championship game on Sunday morning, and Jeff was running a Brightsword game. He was running Vulture's Nest, and then some of the other guys were like, "Man, I really want to sit up and play arena again. Right?
Again, so when was the first one?
Friday night.
Friday night, okay.
Yeah, they had it running all Friday night. They had it running on 2 different boards. When the Twins got there, they brought out this huge, beautiful arena, and they piled into that because it was just gorgeous, right? So, lots of coolness there. We've crowned a new
U.S.
United
national
States champion, and that's Arthur
Wachowski,
who has played some heck of a games, and we had quite a few players that went in to the 3rd round looking hot, and I thought for sure we were going to cut to 4. But the way things shook out, we cut to 2, and Daniel and Art were in that final game.
So the final game was Spellstorms of Jokan. That was the scenario. What was the third? That was the pair, the final cut.
pair.
3rd round, though, the day before was what? Do you remember? The scenario?
Frontier.
Frontier.
Yes, so it was Frontier was 3rd, Skirmish was 2nd, and 1st was Bounty Hunts.
Nice. So, but Frontier doesn't. So this is curious. This is from the competitive person in me. Just curious because I saw the pictures, and I know the forces and the winners and who played, but I don't know the gameplay because it wasn't there.
Right.
So one curious thing I have is because this is somebody sitting here at this table is involved in this mess at Gen Con. Not looking at Jaeger. But, so there were draws changed the nature, but there's not a lot of draws in Frontier.
There was not.
So it just changed who was somebody went in, 2-0 and became 2-1, or
We had 4 go in, 2-0.
not come out.
Went in.
Look at you.
So it was really interesting to watch things change over those 3 rounds.
Yeah, sure.
Right, and that's not usually my perspective. I'm out taking the pictures and I'm doing the thing, and that's you or Jeff.
Colin or whoever. Yeah, sure.
And so watching those standings change over those 3 rounds was really interesting. And going into that last game, like I said, I thought we were good. Go ahead and cut to 4, but we had a really good spread between 1 and 2, and 3 and 4. Yeah. So it was cool. It was
So Art's a previous coin winner. This is his 2nd coin. And that was a while ago.
It was.
Yeah. But he's been in the top a couple of times since, right? I mean, notably, right?
At Adepticon 2 years
2 years ago.
he was
Played you for the final, right?
Yeah.
Jaeger, our producer, played him for the final.
So
Jaeger cheated his way to the win. Well, I don't know what that handed arm signal was. Okay. One legitimately. Sorry, I misinterpreted that.
Just quarterfinals that I played him.
Quarterfinal.
yeah, it was.
That's right.
And he was playing Chakram, I think, then, right? Weren't we both playing Chakram? Yeah. And this time he was back to his demons. Right?
Muscle demon.
Yeah, playing some beefy demons.
Yeah. A 2 carbazole thing. You got to know what you're doing. You do. But you got to know what you're doing on both sides.
You do.
Right, and Art does. I've seen other players who are less experienced try it, and they're not, they're not ready yet. They will be, but with some experience. But it doesn't automatically play itself. You really got to know what you're doing because it's just 4 wounds to give. And as soon as one goes, that break point just creeps closer, right? There's no parry, there's no dodge.
Yeah.
You just got to get in there and do some damage quickly, especially. Right. So.
And we had a lot of really high tier players there, right?
Did we have both? I said, do we have a couple new players or not?
We did have some.
Yeah.
Well, we had some newer players. A couple of people that were introduced to the game last year at this very event were playing in there, but they've played, of course, in the meantime. But we had a lot of folks that had that were coin holders.
Right. Yeah.
And
had Potter. You had decoy holder, right?
Yeah. Right. So it was a really interesting matchup. It was a really good tournament. Everybody had a good time. They were really good games, and honestly, which is really strange, kept me hopping rules questions wise.
They did.
Yeah, a lot of times these things just kind of play out, but there was enough really good competition going on that some of these things came down to these hinges, and they were like, no, we need to.
Wow, I'm usually feeling like the Maytag repairman, which I think is good, right? I mean,
Absolutely, yeah.
But yeah, okay.
So it was really cool. It was
by the way, this is not here nor there in the podcast, but the question about the Rogers question about guys being in support contact, being in to move into.
Oh yeah.
That's next change.
Oh, fantastic! Yeah. I've been kind of watching that come and go all day.
Yeah, it's a long thread. What we do, just for the people listening to the podcast who might not know, we have a Patreon, different levels of subscription, give you different bennies. The Change Seekers and World Builders participate every month in a Change Seeker Council. We provide them with a question or two and get the players' direct input on major issues. And so Roger's asked to be considered, hey, can this be a thing? right? And there's unlike the way it's been portrayed by some on Discord, there are more than one side to that issue, right? And we're going to let that conversation run, and then when we have the Chain Seeker at the end of the month, we're going to talk about some options. We're also going to put a video up and on the table, and be able to put some models there, because you can't do that text-wise,
Right?
Because the angles, base size, yeah. So, anyways, it's aggression. So you got Arena, awesome tournament. I heard Vulture's Nest.
They played Vulture's Nest. Now, Fridays, everybody's kind of still gathering in, so Fridays Vulture's Nest didn't go off. My Encounters game played on Friday.
Which one?
That's the Dreaming Grove. It's our new one for next year. So that went really well. And then they played Brightsword on Sunday. And then we also had our Masters Crafter competition, which was stupid.
I know, I saw some, before we get to that. So Vulture's Nest, did Jeff do it the same way? When we did it full at Junker, we did 3 scenes. He did the 2-scene caravan, then the 1.
We had one scene because of the way that the timing fell. A lot of people.
The last table, the fight with the ruin at the nest itself.
Well, they actually did the games.
Oh, okay, good, okay, right.
And everybody had a lot of fun. That table was just uproariously laughing and just having a blast.
Yeah, Jeff and I co-GM'd it at Gen Con and had a really good time playing the merchants. The second scene, if you do it that way, is a fight, right? It's a battle. But it's designed to be that way. Big interaction, mystery solving, kind of puzzle solving. Second scene is the fight. And that we got to play these, including Irvin and Kevin, Irv Loring and Keldan. And got to ham that all the way up, or turkey leg that all the way up.
Which is really funny because
You had them there.
Kevin and Irvin were playing
As
as
they get to interact with themselves. It's even
to
better.
like watch their caricatures.
That's even better. Who helped Jeff? Was it just Jeff, or was he just Jeff? He's a quality GM.
Oh yeah, he was having a great time. I was over with the game and cleaning up some other things, and he was playing the Brightsword at the time. So
Okay, Master Crafter.
oh my gosh, Master Crafter. All I can say is, by the time that this hits the airwaves, you're probably likely to start seeing some pictures come out from that.
Done this podcast
By the time the podcast does.
weekish from now, right?
Yeah. So
You will have already seen pictures from this competition when you're hearing us talk about it at the podcast.
yes, not all of them probably, because there were a lot of entries, and they were just so high quality. It made my job very difficult, but it was just awesome.
The winner, the top end single model.
The top single model went to Eris.
Which one though? Which model?
Oh, Sword Evalia.
Oh yeah, right.
Yeah, just a gorgeous model. And he was in competition against Brandon and Brent from Michigan. And I mean,
Brent's conversions are crazy too.
they're all nuts, right? Like I said, it made my job hard, right? It gave me
Glad that was you, not me. Yeah.
but it was awesome because our community is so creative, just wonderfully creative. And when I show pictures of the assault on Trillius, you're gonna lose your mind,
Okay, I'm ready to lose my mind.
because it's a
As the inventor of Trillius, I'm ready to lose my mind when he gets assaulted.
and as the writer of the Brightsword War, because this is Grular
Oh my gosh,
invading
I'm already excited.
Trillius, and it's just it's so amazing.
Who did that? Whose was that?
Brandon,
Brandon's, right? Yeah,
this is diorama.
he'd know the deal. Okay, I'm already sexed up with that.
Yeah,
Okay,
really hot. So
so we gave out some Master Crafter coins across several categories. That's going to get posted. So by the time you hear this podcast, probably already up. Discord and Facebook, primary places to find it. Our social media. Okay. Awesome. So Mid Mitten altogether, so 18 players in the tournament.
18 players in the tournament.
Big as it gets, not run by us at the Big Three.
Right.
It's bigger than Gen Con's ever been. Yeah, the Gen Con tournament, right? Yeah. It's
No, it was really
number two to Adepticon.
Yeah, it was really big. It was really good. All I can say is, Jeff and Jacob Hazy run that event as a charity for some local charities.
The Mid Mitten Gaming Convention.
Mid Mitten Gaming Convention, right? So it's a charity event. The money goes to the biggest one, I think, is the children's hospitals. One of them in Flint, Michigan, and it's just an amazing event. It's a really good event. We all went out for a barbecue after the.
Where was the bonfire?
It was at Jeff's place.
Oh, so after the meal?
After the meal, we just went on back to Jeff's and we just had a bonfire. It was so cool, right?
So kicking myself for not going.
It was a lot of fun, and they, you know, absolutely hospitable as far as the crew up in Michigan is concerned. They're just amazing people, and I can't say enough good things.
Cool.
About the whole weekend.
I've got to go next year.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
I'm not missing 2 years in a row. There's no way. Okay, so you have something else to talk about tonight, though, and that involves Jeff and Jacob, right?
It does, as a matter of fact. Isn't that weird? So,
Segue.
segue. We want to talk about Nehvodim today. Nehvodim, the campaign setting of Nehvodim.
Let's take one Columbo step back. Nehvodim is a what?
Nehvodim is a city.
City.
Right. Nehvodim is a city that is, right now it's not in any of the existing countries. It's in the Dathklar, the desert that was created at the end of the Trazarite.
Serves as the southern border between Herodel and Falkenberg.
Right. So it is one of the more iconic locations in Phalon.
From a story
perspective, because of the cataclysm that happened there. The reason that this whole place is now a desert, because it wasn't always that way. It was actually great farming ground. It was just wonderful ground.
So Nehvodim itself is a city, but what you're talking about now, what you're going to be talking about, is a campaign setting based on Nehvodim.
Is based on Nehvodim, yes. So, gosh, where to start with this? I mean, it's this huge thing that we've been working on it for a long time, but it started 2 years ago at the Michigan GT.
Before we moved to Mid Mitten.
Before we moved to Mid Mitten, right? So 2021, I believe, is when it was. We were up for the Michigan GT there in Lansing, and we had a weekend full of games, and we had a big tournament, and it was a lot of fun. And but Jacob Hazy was talking to me. And Jacob Hazy is one of our players out of Michigan, and he said, you know what I'd really like to see is I would love to see this urban setting that is kind of Mordheim-esque, something in the world of Phalon that kind of has that feel to it. And I was like, man, I know I've got the perfect idea for that, right?
So having to play straight man to Matt tonight, which is unusual for me. I'm usually on the other side of the satire. Mordheim, because we're all gamers, we all know these things, but our listeners may not. It's my job to be the straight dude, right? Fill them with the facts. So Mordheim is a fantasy skirmish game, individual models, set in the old world of the old Warhammer world by Games Workshop. It's out of production. There's a very loyal fan base. It was a good game. We all played it. And one of the reasons why we have Free Blades today is because Chainmail and Mordheim stopped being made. And so when we set about to make a game, we decided to fill that spot that was missing in our gameplay. Right. And so Mordheim was a city-based fantasy, a ruined city, well, or dangerous city.
It was ruined.
Parts of it were ruined, right? By acts of Sigmar, whatever.
Acts of Sigmar.
And so when he says Mordheim, it's a game that Jacob remembers playing, and a lot of our players, come to us and say, "This really scratches my Mordheim itch."
I'm one of those players. It came out when I was mid-teens, like 17, 18 years old. And we played the crap out of that game for quite a while. And of course, they, out of production because that's what they do, right? And
so Jacob says,
he says, let's have a game like that. Let's have a setting like that. Can we do a city like that? And I was like, oh yeah, right. So we come back from that, and I'm sitting across the table from John here in this very place, right? And we're talking about how we could do that. And I said, well, what about
which city to choose? Because he talked to you about that up in Michigan, but you and I had a conversation later about, if we did that, which one would?
Yeah, well, we do. Yeah. And of course, Nehvodim was first and foremost on my mind, and it was on yours too. We both thought that would be perfect, so I started working on this idea for Nehvodim from there. So, of course, my side of things is the lore, so I'm starting to fill that out, and I'm writing these things, and it took a couple of years to really put that together. In the meantime, we put Jeff Wing on to the company. And him and I
Shanghai.
Well, that's probably a better word for it, right? Like we do most of our.
I'm losing the word, but there's a word for when the Brits go into a bar and.
Gang pressed.
Yeah, press gang. Yeah, grab some dude, make him a sailor. Boink. Right. Yeah, you come with me.
You come with us, right?
That's why Jeff's a member of the company.
So I bounced a few ideas off of him, and he started riffing with that and started coming up with these ideas for rules that weren't just original rules, but rules that we'd also had in our trying to think of the word, the options for a while,
Right.
from the Free Blades options,
Right.
that would fit well with the idea of Nehvodim.
Give it depth.
Yeah, to fill it out and to use some of these cool optional rules that we hadn't quite fit into the game yet. And they had a place there because of the magical nature of Nehvodim and the Cataclysm and all that sort of thing. So a couple years later, just a couple of days ago, we release the Nehvodim campaign supplement for free as a PDF.
Because we're nuts.
We are crazy, there's no doubt about it, on dgsgames.com. And it's under the downloads and under game supplements, and you'll find that PDF there. It's 80-some pages, guys, full of lore and rules and
Scenarios.
I mean, gosh, there's just so much of it.
Patrons.
New patrons, yep. I mean,
So it's a setting for campaigns depending on what you choose to do with it.
yeah, so the idea behind it really was that we would put out this information and that you could take that information and you could play a game of Free Blades, a one-off game, a campaign, whatever. We gave you all the tools to do any of those things. But you could also throw together encounters based on everything that you had in there, or you could take it right into Brightsword, right? So this had all the
It's got to serve many masters, this campaign setting.
And if you look in there, I'm sure that the creative juices are flowing and your wheels are turning, and there's all sorts of ideas that you have for what's going on within Nehvodim, and you can just run with it. And that's a really cool aspect of the product, I think, that you can do whatever you want with it, right? It's yours to play with. You open it up. And
You get a map of how Nehvodim was before the Cataclysm, 1,500 years ago. You get a map of how it is today. You get a description of these different districts, including their present-day status. You get patrons that would be interested in recovering artifacts and the political activity inside Nehvodim. Political?
Well, some of it's political, some of it's
Grammatical?
right. Yeah, some of it's magical.
Magical. Magical's the right word. Okay.
There's 2 or 3 different patrons that are after magical artifacts.
Right.
There's a couple different patrons that are after anything that will come loose, and then there's a couple of them that are a little more ideologically aligned. And that's just a
Want to raise to the ground and salt it.
right. And that's just those are just the new ones that we really thought would fit there and are going to be part of the upcoming campaign that's set within Nehvodim that we're going to release called Voices of Dust. You can take any patron that you want off of our patron list on World Anthem.
These are sort of focused.
These are focused, right? But the other ones, have a good time.
Sure.
Absolutely. There's plenty of ways you can fit them into that.
So there's plenty of ways, but the way that matters most immediately is coming up next month with
Voices of Dust. And Voices of Dust is going to be our global campaign. It is set in Nehvodim. So you need, the Free Blades rule book, and then you need the Nehvodim campaign setting. And then we're going to release all of the other information that you'll need on World Anvil to get in and play this campaign with us, right? With everybody else in the world, right? Everybody's going to sign on for this. And gosh, that's going to be fun, because Voices of Dust is a standard campaign as far as what we do generally, but instead of 8 linked scenarios, what we have are 4 chapters of 2 scenarios apiece that each tell a different story of something going on in Nehvodim, but the results of which can change
the world.
and change the world, right? So every time that you go into one of these 2 scenario chapters, you're going to choose a new patron, right? Because there's 2 main patrons that are fighting out for this one thing that you're trying to find, and whoever gets it, it's going to matter, right? Because
And you're going to take the results of all these games globally and weave it into
story.
happens future from Nehvodim.
Right. We'll even have I've got in mind from a couple of them that'll be the outcomes, maybe even small campaigns. That branch off of these things, or because of the results, right?
So the players are helping us tell the story.
Right, and that's something that they've asked for a long time, and we've, obviously we live by having our players help us tell the story.
Right.
That's what we do. But even more so now that the campaign results are going to branch these stories all over the place, so it's going to be a lot of fun. And that is going to drop. We'll start playing on December 1st. And I know that December is a busy month, folks, so we're going to just have one scenario in December. The whole month, right? You have
One game in somewhere in those 30 days.
Yeah, right. Because it's it's busy. It's between the two bookmarked by the two big holidays. So I totally get it. But the rules are going to drop by November 10th. So probably after you're hearing this, but it's 3 to 4 days in our future right now. So those rules are coming fast, and we're going to fill everything in.
We believe by the time somebody's listening to this podcast, which will be a week from now, they'll already have it. Okay.
They'll have the basic rules.
Because Nehvodim's out now,
Nehvodim out now.
and Voices of Dust.
Voices of Dust rules will.
They get it the same way, the rule supplement section of the website?
They're actually going to get it on World Anvil.
Okay, it's going to be
The campaign itself will be on World Anvil.
the Patreon blog. It's going to be the general.
It's going to be free. Yeah.
Anybody gets on there.
Anybody can get it, right? Everybody can get on into it. And then, sometime down the road, once we play all this out, we might just go ahead and scoop that up, turn it into a PDF, and work it into the Nehvodim supplement. But what we didn't want to do was drop Nehvodim and then the whole campaign so that you know how everything played out from the beginning. We want
telling a story,
an element. Yeah, we're telling a story. We want an element of
Also
surprise.
I think we do want to emphasize, correct me if I'm wrong, we want to emphasize to someone who picks up Nehvodim that Nehvodim is bigger than Voices of Dust.
So much bigger. So much.
You do your own thing. You can do Bright Sword. You can do encounters. You can do Free Blades. You can do a Free Blades campaign. And none of those have to be Voices of Dust. Right, okay. Yeah.
Voices of Dust is the first campaign that we have set in that setting, into Nehvodim. Probably not the last.
Right.
And anybody can turn it into whatever they want. And we do want to reiterate that. We want to make sure that people know that not only can they play whatever they want to in there, but they can use those rules for other ruined cities too, right? It's not just something that we have to play it here and this has to be the setting. No.
Yeah. So next year when I write 3 gestures, we're going to go back.
That's absolutely right. I want Nehvodim to be something that we go back to time after time as a setting for something fresh and new. But we have the foundation of it already laid.
Right.
It's a canvas that people can write stories on for years to come.
Right. And we'll do more of these. Yeah.
Right. Oh, yeah. That's John and I have been talking about just this thing, and Jeff and I have been talking about just this thing, and this is kind of the start of something, a direction that the company.
The Sun Shadow needs to be the same way.
Oh, absolutely. Right. Yeah.
I'll tell you a whole story about that. We'll do that later. Maybe we'll do that as a subject of a podcast, though.
You know what? We should.
We should. That'd be fun. Yeah. Okay. So, what do we need to talk about? Other things that come. Talk about the Halloween sale, real quick.
Let's talk about the Halloween.
I'll do that one. Right. Sure. So today, for us, today's whenever you're listening to it. For us, today is November 7th. Get out and vote, by the way, if you haven't voted. Be part of our democracy. Unless you're not an American, you're listening to us from Canada. Do whatever you do, or in any case, but over the Halloween weekend, we ran an online sale where every $31 you spent, you got a free Shambler,
Which is awesome.
which is our zombie. Right?
Yeah.
And it was wildly successful. We really appreciate the people that took part in that. We sold a lot of Shamblers, awful lot of Shamblers left the building. And the last of the metal ones, right? One of our models from the original line, everything's being converted over to Siocast. And so the last metal ones left and everything else that left the house. Excuse me, the DGS World Headquarters.
So you're saying that starting now, if you order a Shambler,
Get a plastic one.
Siocast.
Right, you get a Siocast Shambler. And there's more to follow. You're going to be, pay attention to the Black Friday sale. It has 3 separate components to it, 3 reasons why buying, 4, because it's also a release.
Right. It's a big release.
We'll talk about that next podcast.
We definitely should.
Yeah, so we'll put the November release high on the list for the next episode. Okay? All right, I think we're close to the end of time. I'm going to let Matt do his normal sign-off because he's better at it than I am. I'm here for facts and figures.
Why, thanks, John.
You're welcome,
You're a
Matt.
great straight man.
Was I?
Oh, you were.
I'm not doing it again.
Folks, we really appreciate you tuning in, and wherever it is that you're listening to us, make sure that you leave comments for us. Tell whatever station that is, whatever app that is, that we're doing a great job, however they rate. We really appreciate all of your support. And once again, if you want to hear something on the podcast, please let us know. You can contact us on Discord. That's probably the easiest place you can get us, but also on Facebook.
Sleeping Grush podcast channel on Discord.
There is. You can go right there and just...
Any way you get the word to us, let us know what you'd like to
Yeah,
hear.
because we, just like in everything else that we do, we want to hear from you, right? This is your podcast, just like it's your game, and we're building this together. So we really appreciate it, folks. So until next time, we'll see you around the table.
He's still Matt, and I'm still John. I can win.